3. But I've always liked this slide because this is really, in fact, what we're trying to do, is this. Are we always successful? Not necessarily, but this is my goal. This is what I've been trying to do for the last, I think it's 27 years now, is this. Another slide you've all seen. What's not there is we're now at 37% complete. So that's, when I started, we were 30% complete as an active member of the East Coast Greenway. So it's steadily building, it's slow. I'm going to talk a little bit about our regions because I've done, in recent years, I've done less talking about our actual process, what I actually do. So I added a bunch of slides here, and they're very dense, and I apologize, but I thought you'd all be very interested in this because we don't really discuss what the East Coast Greenway does internally for staff. And I thought you'd all really want to know about that. So first dense slide, and let me explain this. So we hired in North Carolina a consultant group that helped us do our next 5-year plan, which was just published. I would argue it's called the Accelerate Connection Strategic Plan. And you see marketing there? I added that. It's really basically a marketing plan. It's really not a work plan, which is why I did 2 other slides after this slide. So you can see what the actual work plan really is. But there's a lot of goals. There's a lot of verbiage, but at the bottom there are 5 key strategies: advocate, activate, plan, fund, and partner. And those things are really the gist of our impetus as staff. We're supposed to have 8 regional staff. We currently have 7. We are, in fact, going to hire for Florida starting in January, just so you're aware. If you know anybody in Florida who wants a great job, let me know. Another really dense one. So this is my Connecticut. Let me go through this a little bit because this is a slide that I don't think I've ever showed any of you. So when I talk about this internally with Dennis and Niles and Allison, the 204-mile route encompasses 29 towns and 4 major cities, and it's currently 54.4% complete. It's 100% signed. Thank you, Rob Dexter. And continuously updated by our signed committee. Thank you, Rob Dexter. So, bullet points. Maintain the East Coast Greenway spine trail as a primary focus of Connecticut DOT's bike ped projects. Also worth noting, the 5-year Connecticut DOT Alternative Transportation Study is currently being drafted in Newington for Connecticut DOT. I'm on the technical advisory board for that. And it's moving forward at its usual glacial pace. They started that early this year, and I'm thinking they'll be done maybe second quarter of next year, I'm guessing. Provide value to our stakeholders. Reach 74.5% spine trail completion by 2030. And I'm going to explain that in more detail. Provide a unique consultancy through service on major boards in the state. I think many of you are aware that I sit on almost all of the major boards in the state right now, with the exception of just maybe one, which is the Bike Ped Advisory Board, which is DOT's captive board. And I'll discuss my board participation, I think, in a couple of slides. Signage, engagement, meetings, outreach, and way down below, initiate a Western Connecticut East Coast Greenway gap study from Danbury to New Haven. We are really in the process right now with Connecticut DOT of abandoning the Merritt Parkway Trail. And it's probably past time. There's no political will. There's no real interest from those towns and cities. They're already spending a great deal of money on the on-road route, and I'll talk a little bit about Stamford and Greenwich. They've got a great program going on right now. Fairfield is going to build an off-road piece of what's going to be essentially part of our current route through Fairfield. And Norwalk is going for a recreational trails grant this year to do the same thing, to build out part of their trail. And they've already got some trail on the ground in Norwalk. So in keeping with this theme of trying to explain what I'm up to, this is my personal work plan for next year. And so we've decided that within this corridor structure that is more in the marketing plan, what we're trying to do is come up with action corridors where we're actually physically working to generate new projects, to get projects that are already generated funded, which is really the huge portion of this, right? Create project advancement goals versus my personal time allotments. I'm sure you're not aware that I get paid for 37 and a half hours. I don't think I've ever done less than 50, is my guess. And I'm probably being generous. Periodic peer review of selected projects. So one of the things we've done is, as we've got a cadre of internal staff, our regional staff up and down the East Coast, they've gotten better and better and stronger with our new hires. They're mostly all professionals. They're either city planners, landscape architects, but what they've all got is they've got really good project experience. So what we're going to do is we're going to peer review every quarter internally and look at what we're focusing on. So, we may be focusing on something radically different in Georgia than what I'm working on, for instance, which makes perfect sense, right? And then projects, where are they? Initiation and feasibility, planning, design and permitting, and construction. Those are really kind of generally the four places where I put a project when I do a spreadsheet, and you'll see my spreadsheet in a minute. And then all the other stuff I do, which is below there, those eight points there. Okay, I get asked what boards I'm on, so that's currently what boards I'm on. And I don't show that very often because people just laugh. They're like, what do you, I'm getting to be an Aaron Good. It's crazy. I've gotten better over the years of saying no, and so I actually this year said no to a few people, but that's the list. And a couple of things there of interest for us. I became the president of the Airline State Park Trail Alliance, which is brand new. So that's a 12-town alliance. So Airline North and Airline South, essentially Thompson, Connecticut, down to Portland and eventually Middletown. And I'm going to talk about the Connecticut Loop Trail in a minute, which is something that another board I was on, if you look toward the bottom. And I get asked to be a technical advisor for a whole bunch of stuff. I usually say no, but the important ones I tend to go on those boards. And luckily, those technical boards are short-lived. They're designed specifically for feasibility primarily. To see, where a corridor could exist, or what's in the public domain, all of that kind of stuff. And by the way, this is a small group. If you've got questions, let me know. I'm happy to take questions. All right, so here's the current spreadsheet. You notice a bunch of stuff packed in 2026. It's not all going to end up happening in 2026. We know that. There's permitting issues. There's all sorts of mission creep. But certainly, New Haven, those two pieces in New Haven 2, one of which is done, will get done. So that's the State Street cycle track, and I've got a whole slide on that. Little piece of Charter Oak and Manchester should be done. Let's see, the Hampton raised crosswalks will be done. I've got a slide on that. The airline Putnam connector, it's actually 1.1 miles. So that's essentially the last piece of the airline going into Putnam. Plainville 1 has broken ground, and it's not going to be 1.3 miles. It's going to be a little less than 1 mile because they had to truncate it because they've got a lawsuit, and I'll discuss Plainville in much more detail. Quinebaug River Trail, Southington 3B, that's unlikely in 26. I would say that's probably 27. It could even be 28. Southington has been spending a lot of time spinning their wheels. They tried to buy the railroad corridor and it didn't work. And I've got a slide on Southington too, so we'll talk more about that. And then Hartford-Windsor Riverwalk is important. That's Riverfront Recaptures trail going up to, eventually to Windsor, obviously, but, to connect their new park. That should be in construction. It's going to go to bid next year. Should be in construction. And I do want to mention, even though it's not on this list, in conjunction with Krog's Hartford Connector study, the potential for a Keeney Park Trail, which I think is a very real potential. And, we'll talk about that in more detail as well. So this is essentially, so you see at the bottom, 37.14 miles of trail, brings Connecticut to 74.54% complete, and a little less than $161 million, and that's all funded. So keep in mind that I don't put anything on this list unless it's actually got a dollar number next to it that DOT has approved. Oh, okay, so this is pretty much what we're looking at. I do want to mention that the New Haven to Boston corridor is rapidly approaching around 88% completion in its entirety, right? The spine trail portion. So that's a big deal. So internally, we are spending a lot of time and capital. That guide that we published a few years ago, we got a grant for this year. The brand new guide is coming out literally in a couple of weeks. So we're really trying to spend some time and effort to get people on, this, right, here to there. And I think we're getting more and more successful. If you look at Connecticut Trail Census, you will see the counter numbers that continue to rise. Massachusetts DOT has a few counters, not as many as we do. They're showing good growth as well. So in terms of through routing, I think this is a very interesting topic of conversation, which is why I did this. And you may have seen this. I've used this slide for a few years. Canal Heritage Trail, 82 miles to Amherst, not to Amherst, to Northampton. And then the Mass Central Rail Trail is actually more like 62% complete now. They've had a couple of really large completions over toward Boston. So as a through trail, another trail of interest for us and a major league connector. Another connector that we don't talk about much at all. This is the end of the airline in Thompson. This piece of which is built. There's a big gap down here, and there's a gap in northern Putnam still, although they're working on those, and I hope to see those in process fairly soon. But what I'm talking about here is the actual connection, which is very interesting. So the green line is the SNET. So that's the Southern New England Trunkline Trail. That is a Massachusetts DCR trail. So similar to our deep trails, it's a state park trail. And
when it goes from yellow to green, are those town lines or is those state lines?
Those are state lines.
So when it goes from yellow to green, that could go from Connecticut to Massachusetts?
Yeah, correct. And then over on the
Rhode Island?
And then over on the right, you're going back into Rhode Island. So you're going down into Woonsocket and eventually back down into Providence. So another major connector, a connector that we don't use much because it's State Park Trail, and a lot of it is still a little rocky, let's just call it that. But it's all getting rebuilt, steadily rebuilt, primarily by Mass DCR. Okay, some other connections. So there's the North connection we just talked about, and there's the Providence connection we just talked about. What I want to talk about now is this, which is the proposed Merritt Parkway Trail, of which we all know there isn't a single inch built of it. This, which is our on-road route right now, which is what everyone uses to get to New Haven, or get to Westchester County and down into New York City. And then this, which is the relatively new Empire State Trail in New York State. $233 million over the last 5 years, and it's pretty much all built out, all the way to the Canadian border, and then down to New York City. Of interest to us is right here, which is about 9 miles from the center of Danbury. And that's what I'm working on right now. This is a little better representation of that. So the trail, you can see Brewster, New York there, and the dotted line is the state line. And then you can see Danbury, and you see that yellow line, through Sandy Hook. There's some great trail in Newtown that's already built. That's our proposed, our really proposed, it's like cocktail napkin proposed right now, routing for a potential route going back down and hooking up somewhere. We're not even sure where. It could be West Haven, could be Milford, with the Canal Heritage Trail. And I have had a verbal yes from Connecticut DOT for a $500,000 feasibility study to start next year at some point. I haven't seen the actual money, but we'll see how that goes. So stay tuned. That's something that is happening absolutely for sure. And again, this has a lot to do with the negatives involved with the Merritt Parkway Trail, which primarily are that nobody down there wants to build it. There's no political will. And the key issue is that it doesn't go through the town centers. And ultimately, that's what put the kibosh on the Merritt Parkway Trail. That was the real problem. It wasn't, and by the way, there's other structural problems. There's geology problems. There's getting around those beautiful 1930s bridges. Some of them, I don't even know how you build a trail. I have no idea. And the DOT designers didn't either, by the way. They were just punting, basically. They did a $1.5 million study about 10 years ago, as I think many of you are aware. They didn't even dare publish it. Yeah, I know. It's a very strange story. Yes?
Shoreline, Greenway Trail getting any traction?
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, in fact, Dan Buckley runs the Shoreline Greenway Trail. He's been doing great work out where they are, but in particular, going east and west out of New Haven. New Haven's got a $7 million raise grant to go northwest on that trail. So if you talk to Giovanni Zinn, who's the head engineer for New Haven, he's got big plans for that. Yeah, so that's also happening. Did I paraphrase that correctly? Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, we got almost $10 million to connect the trail. It was originally supposed to go to Lighthouse Point, so the original concept was Lighthouse and Hammonasset, but now we're going to extend it to mile 0 of the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail to make that connection, and then they're also talking about continuing to build west. So
yeah.
Who knows? The sky's the limit, I guess. Go west downtown. So we're building the network.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you look at, you know, with the exception, although it's a smaller scale of New Britain, I would say of any city in Connecticut right now, New Haven has just got a ton of projects. It's like, what is it, like $31 million in projects for trails?
Yeah, we're building, there's a whole New Haven Greenway's 2030 plan that you can go look at.
Yep.
I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Yep. And you know, there's only so many slides I could do I did 33 slides, just so you're aware. And I was thinking to myself, boy, do I keep going on this? But I was hoping you would come, so I'm, you know. So this is really, yes, yeah.
I just want to ask on that off-road trail, the blue one.
Yep.
Is that like along Route 1, basically?
Think of it as along Route 1. Some of it even echoes Route 1. Some of it is closer toward the shore than Route 1. Depends on the town you're in.
Is it all signed?
Yeah, it is all signed. Yeah, it is. In fact, Rob went through and I went through, oh God, 10 years ago, and I must have replaced 50 signs on that. And since then, you've done a couple of towns. It's in pretty good shape for signage. Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. Well, funny you mentioned that. Of our on-road route in Connecticut, I don't think there's a map that I know of. Well, there is a map, which is map.greenway.org, right? So that's our online map, which you can essentially go, you can print it out, you know?
Plug it into Google and you use your bicycle.
Yes.
Would it pick most of that?
It would. Yeah, it would. Google has a lot of it. It doesn't have all of it. Yeah.
I think that all of the East Coast Greenway is on also, at least in Connecticut, is on the Open Streets cycle map, which you can get through like Ride with GPS.
It's on.
They'll show you the route on there. I mean, it won't distinguish between the trail and.
Yeah, we made a big push to get everything on Ride with GPS. Just in the last kind of 18 months or so, which, by the way, is an absolute pain in the ass. It really took us months and months to get them to add stuff and. So just to round out the conversation, you see that URL down there? The consultant that did Danbury's Maybach Trail study was SLR, and they completed the study in late 2024. It's online at that URL. I urge you to look at it. They did an excellent job. It's really good. So essentially, they're talking about going alongside 84, and part of that trail is already built, you know. You can go out there and ride that piece of trail. It doesn't go to anywhere, but it's beautiful. It's nice. And with the idea of going to Terrywile Park in Danbury, and that's where that study currently stops. But Danbury's very serious and is in conversations with Westcog to fund this trail. So stay tuned on that. That's kind of the next shoe to drop, I think, on this Western connection that I'm talking about. So Connecticut, 24 funded projects you saw, 37 miles, 161 million, 74% complete by 2030. One of the things I'm not really doing today, because at one point I had 46 slides, which I realized we'd be here at 8 o'clock at night. So I cut it back down. So I'm not going to talk too much about the East, although I do have a great slide for Barb Lamodio on the Bolton Tunnel lighting, which will come up because it was such a great project. So the Cambridge Econometrics study, and again, let me know if you haven't seen it, but essentially what they did, and I think they did a great job, is they spent a lot of time talking to University of Connecticut, which of course, as you know, their Trails Division does the Connecticut Trail Census. And they used all of the Trail Census data, along with a bunch of other inputs as well, to come up with their, basically the background data for this project. So it's very well researched, and I envision us using this substantially in the upcoming legislative session. I think this is going to open a lot of eyes in the legislature as to, first of all, the amount of people that are using it. They're estimating 800,000 right now. My estimate, by the way, using a couple of other methods, is more like 1 million right now on the Canal Heritage Trail. And that's just Connecticut, by the way. And then, you know, highs and lows about what they actually spend right now, 22 million a year. And as pieces get built, 42 to 66 million annually. And then a lot of other value-added options that basically put total output to around $140, $155 million for the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail. So take a look at that. I find it fascinating. Steve and I went up and filmed a little segment with them this Monday that is in editing right now, Steve?
It's in editing. The one thing that they emphasized was the fact that CT, Connecticut Trail Census, is one of the best trail census in the country. That our data, we all like to knock Connecticut, but our CT Trail Census is one of the best in the country. So they emphasized that. The other thing that they wanted to emphasize, the higher numbers will come about if, number one, completion.
Yep.
Number two, promotion. So everyone in this room needs to talk to your legislatures, state reps, and the Connecticut Department of Tourism, Economic Development needs to promote this. If you look at so much of Visit CT stuff, I have noticed some more kind of percolating in their materials.
They're just starting.
They're just starting. Yes, they are.
There's much more than there used to be. Well, there used to be zero.
There used to be zero.
But they're recognizing they exist.
Right.
Yes.
So the value of this trail economically is from New Haven, for the people from New York, from Boston, from other parts of the country to come up to stay in New Haven, ride the trail to Simsbury, Avon. 40 miles is probably a good amount of distance for the average older, middle-aged or older cyclists, family cyclists. Stay overnight in Simsbury, Avon, and go all the way up to Northampton. And by the way, you can take a train from Northampton, Amtrak, back down to New Haven. So think about that as a weekend getaway for a lot of people from New York City.
Yeah, so a lot of our conversation with them on Monday was the build out of, what does travel tourism on the trail system look like? Because that really doesn't exist right now in Connecticut. And, I envisioned that also for the Hot River Trail and the Airline State Park Trail and the Quinnebog River Trail and all those other trails in the state that are getting completed. And again, let us know if you haven't seen it. So this is Krog's study, and I've already beat this horse to death. But this study is finally in its last throes of getting finalized. Really, Hartford needs to approve the routing study for Hartford, and otherwise it's done, basically, and has been done really for 6 months. We're just waiting for Mayor Arumpelum. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah. We got it. Yeah.
But this will and already has influenced Connecticut DOT to fund the design of Bloomfield 2, and I'll explain where these are going, but and East Hartford, and I just had a conversation with Mike Tripak, who's head of engineering and the TA program, the federal program, about Terriffill, about getting across the Farmington River in Terriffill. And it looks like that's going to be two different projects that's going to happen there. So everyone talks about Hartford. Well, where's it going to go in Hartford? Well, my immediate answer is, so you see the gold color there? That's essentially Bloomfield 2. And Bloomfield 2 is going to start design this next year. DOT has found money for it, and I'm very excited about that. Where all bets are off is when you hit Albany Avenue, Route 44. That's where we've got a situation where you've got some difficulty using the railroad corridor going into essentially Union Station in downtown Hartford. In its current state, very expensive because it would have to be built alongside the corridor. The railroad and the state, at least currently, is not terribly interested in rail with trail. So FHI, the design consultants for this, published a 20-page report that was outside of this report, just talking about how potentially could Hartford build, and actually Bloomfield as well, build down the Griffin Line corridor into Hartford. I think that project is going to be a longer-term project. I think the project that you will see is the Keeney Park project, and you can see that big squiggly line through Keeney Park. They've got some recreational trails grants money right now, and they're looking to start a design study that would essentially connect the top of the Joe Marfuji Riverwalk, which is what I talked about earlier. That's the project that's going to break ground next year for riverfront recapture along the Connecticut River. So that's that thing you see right there. I think that's going to get built in the next 4 or 5 years. I think the railroad corridor is a much longer term problem. If any of you have ever dealt with railroads, and Lord knows I have, think, God, I don't know, think standing under a cold shower and tearing up $1,000 bills. That's what working with the railroad's like. It's just awful. And we know how hard it is. So and I think one of the problems is that Hartford right now, internally in Hartford, is saying, "Oh no, we'll be able to use the railroad corridor," and everyone else is saying, "No, stop, don't." So, the way it stands right now is there's a very vocal constituency. It's primarily Jackie Mandyke and the Hartford 400 crowd, which is a plan that was promulgated starting about 10 years ago. They still really are trying to get a trail built down the railroad corridor. And I suspect we're going to be working on both of these for the next, 15, 18 years.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been telling people. And some of them listen to me, but as you know, Aaron, not all of them do. I wish they did, but RiverCog just completed a feasibility study with Connecticut DOT, and VHB did the primary work on this one. So this is the connection from the current end of the Airline State Park Trail, which is think of it as going into Middletown, right? So it's Portland, really. It's in Portland. It's 23 miles in total, 22 municipalities. The loop itself is 111 miles, and I'll show you the loop. And what we're talking about here is Portland, Meriden, Middletown, and hooking up eventually with the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail in Cheshire. So that's the loop trail. And the electric yellow and purple are kind of phase 1 and phase 2 of project that I was just talking about, the feasibility design, not design, but feasibility. And if you ever wonder how these design studies work, this is what we were talking about when I was on the technical advisory committee, is all this type of routing. The big problem here isn't getting over the Aragoni Bridge. This is the Aragoni Bridge, which you see if you're going down Route 9. Here's Route 9 going through here. So the bridge is right there. This is Portland. We had to figure out where to route here, but the real problem wasn't going through Middletown. The real problem is north here. You saw that green. That's almost all wetlands. And we really had to jump through hoops to figure out where to put the trail, but we think we're successful with where that's going to go. So, and then of course, back down again and hooking up with the Canal Heritage Trail. So stay tuned. This is on DOT's list. All right. I didn't want to talk about this, but and we talked about this a little bit before. So, Southington has been delayed now for 4 years. Originally, of course, it was the Yard Metals suit. You can see Yard Metals there. The original line of green, so the lime green going into the dark green, is what DOT wants to do, and that's what they have essentially designed. And in their infinite wisdom, the town of Southington decided, well, if there's going to be a lawsuit for a part of this, let's talk to the railroad. And of course, we just had a railroad conversation. CSX, which bought out the Mellon family, which owned Pan Am Southern for many, many years. So CSX is now the owner of most of these routes through the areas where we're talking. And they made an attempt. And as long as none of you talk to a reporter, I can tell you that a little less than 0.2 of a mile, the railroad wanted $3 million for it. And the town said, yeah, right. So they're back to square one, the town is, which is essentially going back to Connecticut DOT with their hat in their hand and saying, yeah, okay, why don't we work on something like eminent domain for Yard Metals, which has been discussed before. For the first time in that 4 years, apparently this town and Plainville have a letter from the Attorney General saying that, yes, okay, we have ruled that you can acquire right-of-ways for the purpose of bike trails, even though it's not in the enabling legislation, which is what the whole problem was originally. So, we have a legal ruling that looks like would be in our favor with the Superior Court. We've got Plainville as well, and I'll talk about Plainville, but there's two suits, one of which is in Plainville and this older one, which is in Southington, both, by the way, from the same lawyer, who apparently went around to all of the abutting landowners and said, do you want to sue? And no, that's what the guy did, apparently. And so here we are. One of the issues is that Southington and Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Plainville are on the clock because the federal TA funding and the RAISE grant funding that also went to, and I don't have a slide. I had a slide, but I took it out, that has gone to very successfully build out the Beeline Trail out of New Britain that's going to hit Plainville and hook up with the Canal Heritage Trail in Plainville. That money needs to be programmed by this coming fall, by September, or the feds will take it away. And so there's a very real time crunch going on here. And I'm staring at Pete Salamone, but I'm going to talk. You know what? Let me talk about Plainville, and then we'll talk about maybe some broader implications of this, because I think The right-of-way acquisition portion of this, I believe, has been solved internally with lawyers at DOT, I think. I'm fairly certain. I said that 3 years ago, but I'm fairly certain. So keep that in mind as I'm talking about the Plainville projects. So, not all of this is in construction, but this piece here from the proposed parking lot, you can see that right there, going north to Norton Park, was bid, has a contractor, and they've started. This piece, which includes 300 feet of boardwalk, has not started because right about there, under the word boardwalk, is a bus company?
They make recreational vehicles.
It's an RV company. Yeah, I had it in my mind it was a bus company, but so they're the other suit. So basically what DOT said was, okay, we've got to use this money because we're going to be screwed if we don't start construction. So they're constructing part of that project.
They believe that on Monday there will be construction equipment in the proposed parking lot.
Fantastic.
We'll see. I'll be looking.
I think, and you were there, but I think I went to my first public meeting in Plainville on this project in 2003, or maybe 4. So it gives you an idea of the crazy timelines. So that's one. Yeah, yeah.
So what's the holdup? The wetlands aren't approved, and so they're splitting that out so that they can build the other one?
No. The wetlands are approved. It's solely the right-of-way suit in federal court. Yep, that one's in federal court. That one's not even in.
Homeowners that are.
Yep. Well, no, it's a business.
It's the RV company?
Yeah, it's the RV company. Yes. Yeah. But again, the theory is that DOT is going to, flex their muscles and use eminent domain. And by the way, this is very similar to the Yard Metals story, where they're looking for, I think, 3.5 feet. That's all they want. It's not like they're buying half their property. If that was true, then I don't think they would have done it. Here's 2. Again, all designed, but there's some fascinating things going on here, not the least of which is a big long tunnel under Route 72, right there. An interesting routing here, routing going through the back of Plainville Public Works, through Tomaso Nature Park, which everyone has agreed to, alongside Carling Technologies, they've agreed, Perrin Road, and then down to where the current trail now exists, which is right here on the edge of Trump's 3-building grouping right here. So that's the parking lot in northern Plainville right there. Going to bid this next summer. Yeah.
The tunnel that's going under Route 72.
Correct.
Do they have to rip the whole road up to put that in?
They sure do.
Or you have to rip it up?
Yeah, what they're going to do is they're going to do it in a weekend. They'll basically close 72, reroute around it. They can do a lot of the work before they do that. What they'll basically do is do a lot of the tunneling before they close it. And then it's designed to use, they're essentially like prefabrication, big, huge rings. And they slam them into place and bolt them together. And I think they said there was 6 of them or something like that. And they're massive structures. And they lower them into place, and then they basically build the highway back on top. Yeah. Yeah, there was a whole thing at DOT about the process. Yeah. Very similar, yes, although a different construction technology. Yeah, but that one was old style cement. Yes, and took forever to build, if I recall. The design that was presented the other day in Plainville is the red line. The old design was the yellow line down here, which echoed this part of 170. This is all 177 here, going this way. By the way, north is this way, just so you're aware. I realize it's kind of a pain in the ass to figure it out because usually you'd have it going this way, but it wouldn't work, graphically. So what came out of this was that the homeowners were not thrilled about that red line, and they asked if DOT and CROG could look at that slightly squiggly yellow line above it, which essentially is going in back of their properties alongside a major wetlands. And that's really the issue with it. In fact, the head of wetlands permitting was at the meeting. And I chatted her up big time because I was really interested to see what she thought about that. And she said, well, it's possible. And I said, usually when somebody who's in charge of permitting says that, you're like, oh God, here's 2 years wasted. So with that, I would like the current head of the Plainville Greenway Alliance to weigh in. I'm really curious about what you thought, because you and I haven't really talked. First of all, about that meeting, but about the potential maybe to do that yellow route. Because by the way, the rest of it, I didn't hear a peep about the rest of it.
This is the issue that came up, and it focused attention.
Yep.
Other people might have talked about some other issues, but the rest of the issues are minor.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. I mean, there were a couple of abutting landowners that were worried about this and that, and I had a conversation with somebody, and he just didn't understand what was going on, I thought. But welcome to Plainville in a lot of respects. There's a couple of squeaky wheels. There always has been.
The precedent was really set in West Hartford for what exactly they're trying to do on Hemingway Street in Plainville. Precedent is the Trout Brook Trail, and there are 13 houses that the town of West Hartford put basically right in their front yard. Right
Yeah.
Along
Yeah.
the front yard. And
Well, don't forget, they're building, essentially a side trail, right?
yeah.
So you're in an area where there's already a sidewalk.
Yeah.
So, if a sidewalk is 4.5 feet, which is a nominal size of a concrete sidewalk, and you're proposing to build something 10 feet wide, which they are, in some cases 9 feet wide, you're really not screwing things up too badly for the abutting landowners. And I think one of the issues that cropped up was, does it affect negatively or positively our home values? And I think everyone would agree, except for certain people in that audience, that it would affect them positively. But you always hear, the negative stories. But I do think two things. DOT is heavily invested in getting this trail project completed within a reasonable amount of time. Again, we're on 20 years now. But I do think that they're very serious about spending the money and getting this project done in Connecticut. And I think that it would be a feather in their cap, and I think, honestly, a feather in the state of Connecticut's cap to get this done in the state. And, we talked a little bit about tourism and, community impact. And I think those are very serious, conversations. So I am not terribly concerned, and because I've seen, you can imagine the emails I see, but I am not terribly concerned with the very vocal but very small public outcry on this. Yes, sir.
No, just, what was the street? Hemingway?
Hemingway, yeah.
It's like what that meeting did not say, and what, I'll even throw it out to this group. What could happen that would be at an absolute minimal cost, just putting some lines down on the road, put sharrows on that road. In other words, there's no trail, the road is the trail.
Yeah.
And then they could put white lines for parking on either side, the 2 lanes, and a sharrow means that the road would be shared with both cars and bikes.
Yeah,
It's not crossing driveways, it's not interfering with anything, it's not requiring.
the problem with that, and it is a real problem, is there's a whole segment of the people that we're trying to build these facilities for that wouldn't use it. They just wouldn't use it. There's an awful lot of people that do not want to tangle with traffic.
But it's not a through road, it's a dead-end street, so.
Understood.
Nobody there.
Understood. I mean, there was even a comment, make it into a one-way. Which, well, I know. Yeah, I know. But let's see what the design team comes up with. I'm really curious to see if they look hard, for instance, at that yellow squiggle on the top of the map there. I think that's a potential opportunity. They would basically take the homeowners out of the equation. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what speaks in favor of the wetland solution, and I understand all the obstacles, but it's a greenway.
Yeah.
Get that green part of it in there.
Oh, no question.
Riding down the middle of somebody's street, it's possible to get something done, but it's not a greenway
Right.
at that point.
Right. Well, again, my stated mission, and you saw in those first slides, is to build, off-road multi-use trail, if at all possible. Recognizing that in certain places it's not possible. But this is the spot where I think it is. And so that's currently where we are in Plainville. None of this is in question. In fact, I didn't hear a peep out of any of that. It was really getting out of Norton Park that was the issue.
Raised portion of the trail, that took a while.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Oh, yeah, it is. I put this up here because this is a pilot project at DOT. It's the first of its kind, and they're envisioning doing the rest of Hamden and part of New Haven as well. So this is raised crossings. You see them in Massachusetts and other places where essentially you get to a trail crossing, and to traffic calm, they do a table that's about 8-9 inches higher than the pavement. You're forced to slow down to get through, and then you can speed up again or whatever you want to do. But meanwhile, the theory is that the pedestrian and bicycle traffic is saved from probably not getting killed and just getting maimed. That's kind of the theory. So let's see if it works. They're starting on this project. They have already started on this project. It's mostly the southern portion of Hamden, going from the New Haven border up. And then the second part of it will be in a couple of years. I put it there, 2028, another $2.7 million to do the rest of Hamden. Mostly, it's a test to see if, number one, we're not genuinely pissing off the public. That would be the first thing. But second of all, is the safety component of this actually a real thing? There are some of these in New Haven already.
Yeah, we have 2 of them.
2, right?
Trail, Haven and Webster Street, Hazel Street.
West Hartford's also installed.
West Hartford has installed 1, I think,
Well, but
or is installing.
There's more. I was at the West Hartford meeting a few weeks ago, and the people in the neighborhoods actually loved them.
Yeah.
And said to the police and said to the city planners, "What are you waiting for? Finish these." But some of them said they had public pushback. And they're like, the people from the neighborhoods were there going, "No, we want them. They're slowing traffic. Our kids can go and play now."
The biggest thing is not bicyclists. The biggest thing is pedestrians.
Yeah.
Is slowing down traffic, because here's the crux of the problem. The traffic engineers at DOT do not want to lengthen the time that the pedestrian heads activate for. Does that make any sense? They don't want to, because it limits traffic, average daily volume. It's got to get through. We can't do that. Blah blah blah. They will do it on occasion. We've had stuff rebuilt, but generally speaking, they don't like to. So how do you obviate that? You obviate that by slowing down the traffic. We'll see.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
At the conference in Cleveland, the Rails and Trails Conservancy conference that Steve mentioned, I talked to a lot of people working on rail trails all over the country, and this is really considered a best practice now for rail trails and greenways.
Yep.
Having these rail crossings at any kind of at-grade intersection.
Yeah, I honestly think the DOT got shamed into this to a certain extent. I really do, because these things are not cheap. Redoing all of this is not cheap. But I bring it up because, stay tuned. Everyone, like internally and externally, people like myself are really interested to see, what effect this has. So here's the State Street cycle track. I talked about it a little bit. This is just a little piece of it. In fact, that's going to Wooster Square. That's that section, in fact. Just saw some construction photos. It's getting built. Yeah. Any comments on this one?
No, it's a fantastic project. Kudos to our city engineer.
Yep.
He has a guy working for him named Adam Weber, who produces these amazing TikTok and YouTube videos. He has a huge following on YouTube. If you go to Everyday Engineering on YouTube, you can see a whole video tutorial about this project. It's really good.
It's pretty amazing. It's extremely well designed, and I would, if you get a chance to see Giovanni Zinn or Laura Brown in planning, or really anybody in New Haven, make sure you shake their hand, because this is a New Haven project. This is not a DOT project. And they found the money. They found DECD, the Department of Economic and Community Development, wrote them a check for $6 million to build this. It is. Yes, it is. Yep.
Will it be ready for Ride the State next year?
Middle of June, maybe not.
Push them.
Yeah. Well.
Could be an incentive for them to work fast.
Yeah.
We'll use it anyway.
Yeah, it might very well be signed. Here's New Haven Phase 4. Couple of pictures. 0.89 miles, $14 million, beautiful facility. They really did a great job.
Elliker calls it his back cave, yes.
The back cave, yes, indeed. We just made this into East Coast Greenway in West Haven. This is the Beach Street cycle track. It's this piece here, right there. So this is the Savin Rock Trail, which has been in existence for about 10 years. Little gap on Beach Street here, but there's a side path. It just isn't good enough to make it into East Coast Greenway. And then up there along Route 1, which actually, Rob, you just re-signed that a couple of years ago, right? And you did the inspection. Any comments on this?
Oh, it's great. There's a whole bird sanctuary next to it. It's got some benches that you can sit down. It's a little bit funny, so this new section is great. The section between that and the condos, they have telephone trails. So
Yeah.
make sure you don't run into those.
Yeah, 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 they do.
I don't know if that'll ever get done.
Yeah,
Looks like a new trail, and there were bollards. And we have a lot of bollard problems in Simsbury.
everywhere.
And there's all this talk about, oh, we're gonna be getting rid of the bollards or whatever, and nothing has changed. It's been 2 years. So like, what is the recommendation
The current recommendation for bollards is, in almost every situation for a trail, is to have one. You notice there's two there. There's two there because it's 15 feet wide. If it was even 12 feet wide, they'd probably just do one. But it's 15. And so basically the new AASHTO standards that just came out, your first $800 will buy it for you if you want to buy it. It's criminal. But that's the new design standard, which essentially is 11 feet wide for trail, one bollard, if you can do it.
Make it about 8 feet tall too, so you can see them when you're riding lines.
Well, I finally, after 5 years, got Farmington, my hometown, to repaint them all, to take out the doubles. They're just going to be singles. Repaint them all yellow and put reflective tape on them. That took 5 years to get that done.
Is there a height standard for bollards?
42 inches in theory.
Very tall.
Some of them are very tall.
Handlebars.
It's supposed to be 42 inches. But you know,
They're all different.
I swear to God, every one is different.
So we have the problem that they keep getting taken down. And then they leave that little
The hole
That's even worse.
or the bracket.
in the
Well,
pavement that has these sharp corners in it. And
Oh, yeah.
complain over and over and over again. And the town's like, oh, well, we're looking at bollards, and it's like, I mean, how many times do I have to complain?
Yeah,
So,
I know.
The Trails Council doesn't have a plan for working with the communities on trying to make this more standardized?
Well, the Farmington Valley Trails Council did a bollard plan, which kind of instigated this. Avon took out a lot of bollards. The problem is every municipality has a different idea about how this is supposed to work.
Bruce, just to add that even worse than, in my mind, than the bollards are the gates.
Oh, the gates are,
Cattle gates and
well, we're steadily getting rid of those
down in Simsbury, but
in eastern Connecticut, thank God. The state park trails were all cattle gates, and they're just dreadful. I mean, among other things, you can't get a wheelchair past them. So, the Hot River, yeah, they've done a lot of them, and they're starting on the airline. There's a project to do another, I want to say 6 crossings next year for the airline. So DEEP has been pretty good. I wish they'd be a little faster, but
I think that paint is really important.
Yes.
The way they have it there, and it's important that we maintain.
So in that AASHTO guidance, they call them routing lines. The idea is to keep right-hand traffic on the right hand, and left-hand traffic going this way on the left hand, and it's pretty successful doing it that way. Yeah.
I mean, the diamond around.
Yeah, but
Yep.
Because if you're
a good addition.
not paying 100% attention, you could run into that thing.
Well, no, that is the idea. Yeah, is to it's a heads up. They're trying anyway. But in answer to all your bollard questions, I hate bollards. I don't usually. Yeah, I understand why they exist. I do, but if we could get rid of all of them, I'd love it. So a big congratulations to Barbara Modio, Silvio Wampu, who's not here. Would you maybe explain a little bit about what the Bike Walk Bolton had to go through?
I don't know. How many people have been through that tunnel? So, 400 feet, ditches on both sides, and the hard rock there. We started 10 years ago out of and we've gone through many manipulations of trying to get it through. So for me, this was a very emotional lighting. We have now little disco balls in there. There are 2 that are flickering. So just go in and dance until it's on the punches for the contractors. And we're so very happy. And now when you go through, you can see where you're going. But amazing to me was the rock structure on the whole Hawk River Trail is gorgeous when you go through the cuts. And I didn't realize how beautiful they are still in the tunnel. And now the ice is forming, and the lights are making it twinkle. So come on over to our side of the river and ride the Hawk. It took 10 years to finally get it to me.
It did. I just recall being in bright sunlight outside of the tunnel and then riding in and being like, where am I? So yeah, no, it's a massive improvement, and I had to recognize your effort. So.
I heard 2. I heard 100,000, and then I heard 200,000. So I'm not sure.
Somewhere between.
Right.
I think the
Well, that's what people are like. Who's paying the electric bill? It's like streetlights, yeah.
I think the total budget was
Nighttime only, dawn to dusk to dawn.
Yep.
Dawn to dusk, daytime, I'm sorry, daytime.
Daytime, they're not on at night,
The park is
because the park is not open.
legally closed at night,
Yep.
which
So-
is another thing that we're gonna work on, because it is a great commuter trail. And when you get out of work, it's dark, so you wanna ride, so, yeah. So, we're working on that also.
So Ride the State this year was a great success. One of the things that Steve and I decided to do was go back to the East Coast Greenway and said, guys, we need professional event support for this. So for the first time in 14 years?
Yeah.
I think it was 14 years we've been doing it, you and I. Talk about a labor of love. We got somebody to run it for us, Global Impact Productions. They did a great job.
The only problem is the weather. So for next year, we're trying to
Yeah,
sunny.
no rain, yes. Yeah. So that's literally the side of the boathouse in New Haven, and everyone's packed underneath the eave there because it was at one point it was pouring. Thank God it mostly didn't pour for the rest of the ride.
It was all right.
It was not bad. So this coming year, June 27th, 2026, please join us. It really is a great ride. Among other things, instead of going up into Massachusetts, we now curl around and go to Hartford, and then you take the train from Hartford back down to New Haven. And CT Rail just loves us because they got a lot of new riders, and it was.
Tom Aparo from DOT was there as we were loading the bikes into the trailers, and he said to me, he was just observing. He goes, "How about if we added a car next year just for the bikes?" I said, "Tom, I don't say this to many guys, but I would love you if you did that." If we could not use those trailers, I'd be.
It really would. It really would be a big help.
So we're working on that. To be continued.
A baggage car.
Something like that.
Yeah. No. Basically, a bicycle baggage car. Yeah. So, Ride the East, which will be in its fourth year. Yeah, I had to throw that photo in. Barbara, of course, has been integral, along with the Sokolowskis, in getting this done. And I was pretty sure, Barb, you'd be here, so I didn't do a picture of you. But what I did do was a picture of the Brain Trust from Trust for Public Land. So June Scalbo, David Berkowitz, and Walker Holmes, and then of course Kim Bradley from Deep is on the right there. We are basically their partner in this event, and they've been nothing but fabulous. It's really been a great partnership with those guys. So maybe a couple of words about what we're envisioning. It's still not really cast in stone, but
Yeah, but it'll be similar to last year where we had kind of train stops along the way with points of interest. You'll ride at your own pace, your own distance. We'll have a stop in Goodwin Park, maybe a special event going on there, but we'll have signs up and we'll have descriptions of things that normally as you just ride by, you're just riding, you're not paying attention. There are a lot of really cool things on the trail, so we will have signs and they'll be marked and you'll have a QR code or paper that tells you about that spot. There'll be, I think, a 20-mile round trip and a 40-mile round trip
Yep.
option. Starts in Willamette to get Gilson Square, the 40-mile goes to Hollywood.
so, and the LA State Park Trail Alliance, which I just mentioned, of course, I'm the president of, is very excited about this. So,
And you'll ask to have all the gates open for that event, so you don't have to go between a rock and a hard place.
So last year it conflicted with, I think, the womenmetric,
it did.
and I couldn't.
Yeah. In fact, we looked at the date again, and it doesn't this year. So it's going to be May 16th. One of the things that Trust for Public Land did, and I know I think you looked too, is just to make sure it didn't conflict with anything big. And to the best of our knowledge, it doesn't. Yeah, but a good point, though. I'm getting done, I promise. Here's the new guide. Many of you are aware, in fact, I put one out, I think the last one I have. It was very large. It's going to be a little smaller. It's going to be more like a novel size. And it just now is going to print for January. So we'll have it ready to go for then. New and improved maps. We spent a lot of time on the maps and updated the information within it as well. That was a Connecticut Recreational Trails grant that helped us do that.
The new size will fit the bike bag there.
Yes. Yes.
And where would we be able to
Through us, we're thinking of having it at some selected bike shops and some other places. But good question. I haven't figured that out yet. And then here's my, you all know how to get me, but I always throw that slide up. So that's the formal presentation, and I wanted to make sure we had some time for any specific questions. Yes, sir.
So, one of your very early slides, and I'm not asking you to bring it up, which is design and permitting, but actually getting the land. We're trying to use an Eversource corridor.
Okay.
Getting their agreement to allow us, easement. That's sort of the land acquisition part, and you're talking about it in a lot of these projects. I think ought to be mentioned in that slide next time.
It does need to be. There's an assumption with that strategy that the right-of-way is already in some way or form or another in the public domain. That, as we know, that's not always true at all. And utilities are a great example. Bloomfield 1 used a big swath of almost 1.5 miles of Eversource's land. And they got a conveyance to do that. And it was very successful. And the real estate folks at Eversource have been really quite good with us about doing that. There are some places where it's obvious that the topography isn't so great. And then you kind of have to go around and figure out something else. But
do you have a contact that you work with?
I do, yes.
We can get that later.
I'm happy to get that. Shoot me an email, and I'll send you her stuff. They've been very good.
For over 40 years, SCM
has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education,
and live broadcasts.
SCM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SCM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SCM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government
come together.